I'm going to try to break this down so it's super clear because this is where a lot of people get tripped up. Most people will link the external event, someone yelling and cussing you out, to their internal emotional experience. And I understand that had the yelling and cussing not happened, you wouldn't be having the emotional experience. If you have an external locus of control, you will conclude that the person who caused the emotional reaction is responsible for my emotional reaction. But that's not how it works. They are responsible for their behavior. They are not responsible for your emotions. Your emotions are your biochemical reaction based on your lived experience and your personal stories and your past trauma. They are an energetic experience that happens inside your body. Your emotions belong to you. You are responsible to manage your emotions. So they're not responsible for your emotion, but they are responsible for their behavior. In the example of yelling and cussing, well, that has been collectively identified as verbal abuse. That's abusive, harmful behavior. So they are responsible for their harmful behavior, not your emotional reaction to their harmful behavior. Now, abusers will evade accountability at all costs. So even though the behavior is globally recognized as abuse, they will deflect and put it back onto you. You're overreacting or you're too emotional, but what they're doing is evading accountability for their behavior. They tell you that your reaction to their behavior is the problem, which successfully shifts the focus off of their behavior and onto your emotions. Now you're placed in a position where you have to argue the validity of your emotions. And the initial issue was their behavior. This is classic abuse deflection. So again, they're responsible for their behavior, not the emotional reaction that comes from their behavior. So the thing that most people struggle seeing, which is why I think we see people pushing impact over intent, is just because my behavior elicits an emotional response from you, it doesn't mean that my behavior is harmful or that I need to take accountability and change my behavior. If my behavior doesn't fall under behavior that has been identified as harmful or abusive, and you can check out the power and control wheel to figure out what is harmful, abusive behavior, then to have an expectation for me to change my behavior so you don't experience an emotion, I think would fall under entitlement to emotional labor. It's always okay to ask, but you can't expect. So an example of this would be, I'm dating somebody and we're not living together. My sleep is really important to me, so when I go to bed, I put my phone on silent so I don't get disturbed. But this makes my partner feel upset and anxious and ignored. I'm not being abusive, I'm setting a boundary that protects my peace. So just because this behavior elicits an emotional response from my partner, it doesn't mean my behavior is wrong or that I need to change my behavior. And if you expect me to change my behavior so that you feel comfortable, that is entitlement to emotional labor. You're asking me to change my behavior to regulate your emotional experience. Don't start throwing around if you loved me, you would, because that is emotional manipulation. We need to be respecting people's rights of autonomy, and we need to start distinguishing between abusive and harmful behaviors, which 100% need addressing, and healthy boundaries or neutral behaviors that might just trigger an emotional reaction in you. This takes self-awareness and personal accountability, which sadly, a lot of people don't have.